Hey, Sin. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yeah, and time's such a valuable asset. So, honestly, the fact that you have chosen to be with me today, I really, truly feel special. So, thank you.
Of course. No, honestly, when you asked me, I was really excited. I didn't even know that you were, I did see your last video when you were talking about like, starting this up. And so then when to be somebody that you thought of to ask, I was like, "Oh my gosh, she wants to have me?" Okay.
Yes, Sin and I met in a group, oddly enough. I think I've been in it for about 6 or 7 months, and honestly, they kept on saying Sin when I like got in, but I'm like, who's Sin? And then I looked you up, and then I saw that you had a YouTube and all this stuff, and I was like, well, I need to know Sin, and I am just so happy that we met, and yeah, I mean, I feel like we're kind of building a relationship too, so it's kind of cool.
I'm also very excited. It's very cool. I think it's really important for creators, especially women mothers, to be able to communicate and have community and speak to each other um, through different aspects of life, but particularly in our job field. It has been fun. It's been so nice getting to know people, and I know that it can be a very lonely type of work too. So I feel like I've been very fortunate into getting to know a lot of really amazing, powerful women, and I believe you're one of them for sure.
Aw, thank you. I think we're just kind of on that same wavelength. So this is
Yeah,
the
right.
start
Like
of
we're like, I
yes,
get, yeah, yeah, yeah.
exactly. So I invited you on here and I've got some questions I'd like to ask you. Is it okay if I ask you some questions?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, wonderful. So this first one is about the your journey of your sexuality. How has your relationship with your sexuality evolved since you started your journey here with OnlyFans?
I think so. I'll start by saying like I am a Scorpio if you are into astrology, and that's one of the most like very sensual, sexual sort of like one of the main traits of being a Scorpio is like very much sex, like, right? So for me, felt very I've always felt very comfortable with my sexuality. I know that growing up, I definitely the main and the main picture I got, because I come from a hetero family household, to married people. And so growing up, I was like, this is the standard, this is what we see, and then media and TV and such. But I think, of course, once you getting into middle high school and you're having more experiences and different friends and different environments and just becoming more aware of all the things that revolve around sexuality, that's when it certainly like opened my eyes to more than just like, oh, it's just a straight couple, cis het people, like that's it. And so I identify as bisexual. I think I'm equally attracted to men and women. And honestly, I have not had the pleasure to date anybody that identifies differently than male or female, but I would not be opposed to it. But
Yeah,
I just think like it's just so broad. So it just feels wrong to label everything as just one thing, because I feel like there's so many intricate parts to so many things. I've always been comfortable with it, and I certainly think that after starting sex work and being in OnlyFans and stuff, it just sort of it heightens it a little bit as well. But I think I'm certainly more. I guess I would just say open, or just I'm not as honestly don't feel shame. I don't feel embarrassment or anything like that. It's more just, I'm an open book and I live my life and I have my experiences, and I can just be true and honest to myself. And so whatever that looks like for sexuality, like I'm down. I'm good with
right. Yeah.
it.
No, that's really cool to hear all that because I too grew up in a mom and a dad marriage, and yeah, like the messaging was just like that's what it is.
Mhm.
And mostly in my 30s just trying to like figure out my sexuality, I lean so much into your story because I myself, like, I've done a lot of research in terms of um, science evolving and stuff. It's not even like natural to just be one way. It's like the way
Right.
that society has kind of made it out to be that it should be XYZ. And of course, there's other messaging and in terms of, groups and religions and things like that too.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's
Hmm.
not even natural to like just be one way. So
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
alrighty, so my next question is body and confidence. So, how have you learned to embrace your body and build confidence through your experiences?
Okay. So for just living in my body, I've always been on the plus size. I've always been a chunky, chubby, thick, curvy, voluptuous, fat,
Mhm.
sexy woman. That's just who I am. And I want to say that I've I've really honestly not had a lot of experience disliking my body or feeling a lot of body shame or things like that. I really have outside factors said that to me, yes, but have I felt that? Not really. I've always been pretty comfortable with myself. I've always, I'm just like, it doesn't matter if I'm bigger or smaller because I have been both. And I've just lived as I am. If of course if my health was at risk and there was just things that I was needing to do or change, like of course. But I think there's nothing wrong with just living as you are, experiencing life as you are and enjoying it, or you know what I mean? It's not something that I've ever been like, oh my gosh, my body, this, my body, that. I really haven't. But I grew up with a lot of friends experiencing that, a lot of family members experiencing that, or family members projecting that onto
Right.
me, of course. But I was always just very like, no, that doesn't affect
Wow.
me. Yeah, I know a lot of people are
So
like, what?
when they projected that with you, like what are things that you were able to like say to yourself? Because ultimately we kind of have like these self mechanisms to kind of like calm us down. How were you able to get that, like someone projecting that on you and you actually being able to not take that in? I am blown away.
Well, I'm not, it's just sort of, it's within me. So
Yeah.
it's just a part of who I am. So for example, I'll be very specific. My grandmother on my father's side, she is a very small, petite Thai woman, full blood Thai woman, right? And I am not. I have a Thai father and I have a Caucasian mother. And so with her German heritage, I have a big, thick, big old German woman body, right? But I
Hmm.
have features of an Asian woman. So it's just a little bit different. But so I just knew that her experience was just very different from mine. And I know that also her, again, her experience and her outside factors and the way that she had to live her life is very different from mine. So I can hear her say, oh, those pants look like this or that, or oh, your shirt or your that, just those kinds of comments that, nobody really needs to hear because we have our own internal dialogue and everything anybody could ever say, we've already told ourselves, right? So
Right.
it's like it doesn't, I was just like, okay, grandma, like it didn't, I was just like, oh, you think I'm fat
Wow.
today? Guess what? I'm fat every day. It's really not anything new here, and it just, I had to brush it off because I, I just was, I had to, I just had to know within myself that
Yeah.
it didn't really matter what anybody said. I just have to care about myself.
Admire that in you, and it's amazing that you just had it in you. It
Yeah,
sounds like
I'm very headstrong, you
yes.
know.
That's so awesome though. That's so cool to hear. Do you think your your mother had any influence on that specifically or anybody in
No.
your life that was able to build that within you?
Honestly, a lot of my family members are a lot of very, like everybody, everyone has damage, everyone has trauma, but a lot of the women in my family are very ashamed of their bodies. Are, they don't have confidence, they don't feel secure, they don't love themselves. And I've just not been that. And especially seeing that, I'm like, I don't want to do that. Why would I do this? Is who I am. This is how I am. This is just me. So I'm not going to allow other people's feelings of themselves, which they shouldn't feel that way either. But, we all have to live our experience and our truth, and just know, if you're not there, you need to get there. But like,
Yeah.
I did, and I'm not saying that I've never been like, oh, I don't feel comfortable in my body, because I certainly have, or have seen my body change in all kinds of ways, because I'm about to be 38, so I'm a 38-year-old adult woman. I have had children, I've breastfed them, I have gone through puberty, so our bodies have changed so much in our lifespan of just right here where we're at, that it's crazy to be like, our body has to be one way, we can only look this way, or da, da, da. It's just ridiculous, because every person's body changes all the time, every day. And so I don't feel that there's like a point to be upset or not love and care about yourself, because it's just who we are, it's how we live, it supports us, it keeps us alive. Like, for some people it's a meat sack, you know what I mean? Like, it's
Right.
just so, it's just, I just never, I've had down times, I have felt bad about myself, like I've definitely felt and gone through those things, but I'm just at a place where I can't think that way. It just doesn't serve
Yeah.
me. And I just find it to be like dumb. And I'm just like, I don't subscribe. It's not for me. I love myself. I care about myself. And I fully accept who I am, what I look like. And, could I change things? Sure. But does that really matter to me ultimately? Not really. I'm just who I am.
That's so amazing. I love hearing that. We've got another question. What are some self-care practices that help you stay mentally and physically well currently?
Ah, okay. So I mean, like, to be so for real, like, I'm not, right? Like, I'm not. So, things that I enjoy that are good for me, like, I love to do yoga and just body movement stretching that feels so good. Like, I can tell when my body needs those things, and I'm like, I need to do this. My back hurts, whatever. I'll do a few stretches. I feel so much better. So I know that's something that works, because I did it, I have evidence, I felt better. So I'm like, yes, I'm going to repeat this. I love that. I love stretching. I I recently found out, oh, I was diagnosed this year that with ADHD, like I was telling you about.
Yeah.
And so I just started that whole journey and finding out more about that. And it explains so much. And it really helps me not feel as crazy as I thought I was, because it's just, I mean, that's a whole other episode, just like these things that
Right.
we experience, mental health. But yeah, like I've definitely gone through very high depression, very high anxiety, and not that long ago either, you know what I mean? And
Hmm.
still having to go through life, work hard, take care of things, so it's very hard. But so right now I have started medication for a stimulant for my ADHD, which has helped so much. It really has helped me so much. And I was lucky also that the first medication I tried was a good one for me. I didn't have any kind of weird symptoms or anything going on. So it's just how I I am at this point. I am riding the journey, and I am good with the medication I'm on, and that has helped me. So that certainly has done so much just for my mentality. For my mentality alone, the medication has been amazing. Um, so definitely stretching, body stuff. I love cannabis. Can I just tell you, I just love it, because as somebody that's had so much anxiety and depression, and with our ADHD brain, we're just constantly like, all the time. So that was something that I didn't realize was is sort of a coping mechanism slash aid, because it would help slow my brain down. It would help me like take a chill pill. It was a million miles a second. Like, it was just insane. And I was like, what is going on? And then as your depression, anxiety gets worse, like other symptoms get worse, and just things are just
Yeah.
really hard. Um, but knowing that, and knowing that that was a part of something else, really helped me go like, okay, I'm not crazy. There's something that's actually going on with my brain. It is different, because, when you talk to other people and they're going, wow, your brain seems fine. And you're like, well, doesn't everybody think like this? Like, like that's just how I feel. And I was like, why, like, and then of course, TikTok, the algorithm, they tell you who you are, they tell you all the
Yeah.
things about you. So I was just like, okay, I think I'm pretty like 98% sure. So of course, yeah, for sure. I was diagnosed. They're like, oh yeah, you got it. But
Yeah.
which also they say like correlates to trauma. And I was like, oh yeah, for sure. Again, another episode, right? But
Yes.
but yeah, so that has helped me so much. But yes, the canvas, I love it. It helps me. It makes me feel good. Again, it aids with the body movement because once you feel good, then you want to move your body. You put some good music on. You connect with yourself, and I mean, it's amazing. Like I will dance and cry at the same time, and it's
Yeah.
amazing. And it feels good for that release. We need those kinds of things. So definitely, I do a lot of crying. I cry all the time. I certainly after I became a mom, like your emotions, like it's just insane. And like I can watch anything, I can read anything, and I'm just, oh my God. And I'm just like right well and right up.
And
But
'cause I
I
feel
mean
like
that's
crying is like oil. It's like oil for the body. Like
yeah,
for me,
lubing
it
it up. Yeah.
helps me like process things that I wasn't able to process. It like loosens up
Yeah.
things.
Yes.
Crying is a big thing into wellness, which I personally, growing up, it was like, kind of hide your emotions.
Yes.
I honestly don't feel like I cried really until I was like 19 or 20 years old. Probably like when I had my kid, my first
Mhm.
kid. So yeah. And you mentioned something about the algorithm and it like tells you who you are. Dude, I was just talking to a friend yesterday about the exact same thing in wellness. It's actually like I always I found wellness in some aspects of in childhood and I kind of was always like looking for it, but somebody that I look to so much in my wellness care, Abraham Hicks came through the algorithms of my Instagram and discovering that. But the ADHD thing, I completely understand. And I don't know if you know this, but there's so many people that are coming out now saying that they were diagnosed like wrong with another mental illness, whether it was like multiple
Uh-huh.
personality disorder or bipolar, and
Yeah.
it wasn't the right direction in how they were diagnosed because
Yeah.
it's an emotional roller coaster being ADHD. Don't you agree?
Mhm. Yes, and I just and so I mean I knew it, but I think I knew it, but it was like a hard realization. But other people were telling me about extreme mood change, and I could feel it, and I knew it, but at the same time I didn't realize like, wow, my moods really are extreme, because I would be very high, feeling very good, and I'm in a good place. And just any one little thing, and I was just deeply down, deeply upset, deeply
Yeah.
sad, and it was just and some obviously there's certain triggers, right, that we can experience, and that would do that. But I mean, like really, before I started this medication, my anxiety was like 9, 10, like max all the time. It was really
Yeah.
hard to do a lot of things, just daily things. Once I started this, like I'm just on like Adderall XR, so it's just like the extended release one.
Yeah.
But my anxiety is like maybe a 1 sometimes. It's just
Yeah.
absolutely crazy to me and also like the thinking where I'm always thinking a million things all the time, and then making the steps and the lists and the how to's, and well I got to do this
Right.
if I'm going to do that, but if I'm going to do that I got to do this, how we talk ourselves out of doing shit. So then
Yeah.
it's like I had that as well. So so just to tell you really quickly, the very first time I took it, like 20 minutes in, and it was very low dose at first. I've upped my dose a little bit where I'm a little more comfortable. But it was quiet in my brain. And I said,
No.
hello? Like, is anybody there? It was so crazy. And so I'm like telling, my friends and my family, I'm like, guys, it's quiet in here.
Yeah.
I'm like, and they're just, and I'm like, I was like, it's never been quiet in here. This is crazy. Like, it feels crazy to feel normal. Like,
Right.
mind blowing. It's so weird.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and
So
I
weird.
learned to self-soothe, like
Exactly.
neutralize things better when I got on medication. So I know exactly what you're talking about. We should probably do another one of these talking about ADHD because it is
Honestly.
it is it's really popular right now and kind of like going through the algorithms as we talked about. But before that, I'm sure just like you, I, you know, always kind of knew that that's sort of what I had. Like I think I was diagnosed with ADD
Mhm.
back in the 90s and the hype of that. But there wasn't, although our healthcare system is not perfect and mental health is definitely still really hard, there's getting to a place and a belief and understanding that what we have is a real thing.
It's
And
real.
the Medicaid, the XR that you're talking about, it is so much different than the last thing that I was on, without the extended release. There's something to that, like the
Mhm.
things that they're inventing are getting better. So
Yes, exactly. And that's too to say how like the understanding of it, because I feel like I have to convince people that that there's actually something going on with me, like actual medical scientific information. Because I'm
r-
like, I feel like people think I'm lying. I feel like people don't believe me when I say I can't do this, or I want to so bad, but I'm frozen. I
right,
can't. And they're just like, yeah, you just don't want to do it, or you're just lazy, or whatever. But like, I'm telling you, like, I'm like, this explains like the last, 10 years of my life so much better. Like I come from hoarders, right? So like I have the tendency and I really try not to, but like keeping shit plus like not being able to just do daily cleaning and tasks and stuff, it's so overwhelming and crazy. So I've had such a struggle with that for so long in my life that to now go like, oh baby girl, I need to hug myself because it's like
mm,
you
yeah,
had no clue. I'm going to get emotional, but I had no clue that that was what was really going on. Should I have gotten help? Yeah, but you just take it inward. That's what women are conditioned to do. Take it in,
right,
don't tell anybody. and
right,
and so I'm just like, it's something is wrong, but I don't know. And you try to talk about it and people don't understand if they don't experience it, and so they're
yeah,
like, I don't know. But it was just I was just like, you couldn't have done better. Look where you were. You couldn't have. There was nothing you could
right,
have done. So to feel that now, it's just like it's such a relief, because I just was so down on myself, but it was
right,
really not my own fault. It was, my brain is different, and
yeah,
unless I have tools, medication, doctors, therapy, if I have these resources and tools, yeah, I can do better, I can be better. But
yeah,
if I have no idea about that, then I'm just going, what's wrong with me, and blaming
right,
myself, and so much self hate and loathe. And um so yeah, so for sure I can look back and go like, you did the best you really could. You really tried, and you did great for what
yeah,
you could do, but now you can do more,
absolutely.
it was. Yeah.
Absolutely, for sure. Yes, we as women are way too hard on ourselves. In fact, that was the topic of my therapy today was I was being too hard on myself. Like these thoughts that we get, especially like just as women in general, and then to add the ADHD, I almost feel like this next question kind of goes into it. It's like, how do you maintain your mental health and emotion and well-being? Part of that, I feel like your answer is that you've been able to find some self-compassion for yourself.
Yeah,
What is it that you have been able to do to maintain your mental well-being?
I do meditate. Sometimes I really should do it more often, but again, like they say, it's a practice. Like
Yeah,
you have to keep at it and you keep trying, and each time you try to do better than the last time, sort of a thing. Um, but I certainly think just like self-reflection, sitting in the silence, sitting with yourself. I do a lot of grounding. I like to just walk in the grass. I like to feel the sunlight. I like to connect with nature. I feel like that's a big thing for me. And it's not like, oh, I need to connect with nature, I go on like a 3-hour hike. It's like, oh,
right.
I'll go sit outside in my yard and look at the bugs and the plants and the birds and just listen to the wind and just like let go of a lot of things that we just build up and build up and build up, and we're just sitting in that like toxicity. So I really try to just like go out there, I do a lot of breath work. Breath work's amazing. Actually, um, just like a fun fact is that I'm actually a free diver trained, certified. So I do like a lot of the breath apnea type stuff is cool. It's very interesting to look into as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the breath thing is really cool. I've heard this saying once before that your breath acts as an anchor for your brain. So it can help, just like
It's true.
the different techniques can help say, hey, no, brain, like this is the way that we're going to do it. So, like, yeah, the brain is like heading it all, but at the same time, we have all these tools that we can just be like, hey, brain, this is what we're doing now. But yeah, I know the meditation thing like that. In fact, I think is in the chaotic life that I had led before, um, starting to do just literally, I could do a minute because I would, start thinking all these things and, couldn't get through meditation. But meditation
Yeah.
is such an amazing tool. If you, even I tell people, even when you sit on the freaking toilet for a minute and just
Yeah. Right.
silence
Just
the brain, if
give
that's
it.
all
Yeah.
you can find to do, just start someplace. And I do the same thing as you outside. And uh, it doesn't have to be 3 hours, like you said.
Yeah.
Grounding is literally like stepping outside and seeing the tree, being like, the tree is green, just something small can be, again, 1 minute can be an hour, but it doesn't have to be like this whole expedition.
I just feel like when people talk about these things and experiences and like things to do, to me, I think, oh, okay. And like with the ADHD, it goes with that like perfectionism. So I think you have to do things a certain way. You have to do things XYZ. And but it's like, no, you don't. You can literally do whatever the hell you could do, however you want to do it. And it's like you make the choice. But I feel like it's like outrageous to think like, oh, we do it any kind of way, there's not the correct way to do things. Like, no, you can do whatever you want and you can do it however
Right.
you want. And that's so like that's crazy to say it out loud because it's like that's true, but it's like who like a lot of people like don't even like think about it. They just go like,
Yeah.
oh, it's that's just how it is. Like, no, you can change it, you can do whatever you want, you don't have to do it any kind of way. You're the captain, you run your ship. Like, so I think that's just like, such a message for, because like I said, all this is just my experience. And so I know if I'm experiencing it and you're experiencing, like there's so many people
Right.
that also are just like right there with us, connecting and feeling the same things and going through a lot of the same things. And
Yep.
oh, it's life. It's so exhausting.
Yeah, no, totally. I feel like it's just the right timing in terms of our evolving of where the internet is. And like you and I have began to have a friendship just based on the internet. And I
Yeah.
feel like that's part of like just women in general being able to connect more and finding our power. As you had mentioned to me last week, that I don't remember who you told me about, but I listened to them, and like gaining our power back is something to do here with the internet and our connection as well.
So, okay. So I was just wondering, you have such a like huge background. Again, it's the business, right? It's like I'm like, what do you know? Um, yeah, I like don't feel like I'm as educated as I want to be, or I don't feel like I'm as savvy with certain business aspects as I want to be, or whatever. So like, so just with your experiences, I feel like you're like, you're top of the chain woman. You're a high value woman,
That's
like way up there, right?
sweet.
So like brains, beauty, like come on, like
Aw, thank
you
you.
do everything, you do it all. So I just want to know, like how, like what are you doing? Like, like what's your advice? Like what do we do? Like,
What do we do? You're so sweet, to say all of that. Thank you. So y- I just I had a natural love and a knack for business in general, just even as a child. Like I just started someplace with making bracelets and selling them, or doing lemonade. And honestly, if we're real, I feel like money has been kind of like my first love. So like figuring out how to get it. I mean, growing up, that's what I was told, is that money meant
Mhm.
everything, you know? So that's just what got me started, is just this like thought of money. And I feel like, yeah, I've got a lot of experience, but I feel like I even learned from somebody like you too. In all of my teachings and everything, there are things that can't be taught unless you see it. So like I was learning about, you have to be entertaining in this business. You have to do these things. And I've mentioned to you, I really value watching what you do, because you take business in a place that I no longer feel like I have the ability to just do. Like I have to watch somebody doing it. So
Mhm.
although I may have like a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience, there's so many things that, women like you teach me as well. Like I can teach you systems and that kind of thing, and money in, money out, and different systems like arigato money, which means being thankful when money goes out and money comes in. Those are all like inner wellness business tricks. But
Mhm.
I never for a minute want to women or anybody to think that I know it all because I've been doing this. All this has done is help me be intuitive to supporting someone like you. Like literally, I feel like our friendship is like an arigato. Like you are
Oh,
taking from me and I'm taking from you. So
yeah.
thank you for the very amazing compliment. Yes, I have a lot of business experience, but I don't know it all. That's where I lean on, just having friendships and networking with, somebody like you.
I think so too, because there's so many of like for example, like you said, we're in a group chat with other moms that are creators, and we all just want to find success, but we also want our friends to be successful. So we're all there working together and really building relationships and helping and tips and advice,
Yes.
and it's not even just business. We're also there for personal stuff too. So I think,
Yeah.
if you can find your people and you can bounce ideas and talk about strategies and stuff like that, that's so important. It's amazing. It's helpful.
Yeah.
And it is very arigato.
Yeah. It's like a mastermind. I feel like that is the heart of business, is that women like us getting together and networking and finding what works. Because when I wasn't in that in my last industry and I found it, it was a game changer. I like started making 20% more, like there's something to relationship in business. So yeah, I honestly, I'm so grateful that you came on here with me, and that I could call you my friend.
Oh, we're
Like
friends.
I literally was telling somebody at work, I was like, my friend told me this. And then, because you're very insightful and you helped me through something that I was going through last week, that still kind of just keeps on giving. So,
It's my pleasure. I'm glad. I'm very glad, and I'm very thankful to have met you, and that we're building this together, and that we can bounce ideas and we can just talk about anything. And like I am totally an open book. I'm totally open to talking about whatever, because like as many women, we go through a lot of things and we relate on so many things that it's so nice to have somebody to talk to about it that either has also experienced it or just completely understand what you're talking about.
right.
But
Totally.
also can like see, you can be discussing something and they see or hear something that you might not necessarily know that you're saying or
Yep.
feeling, and then they say hey, and you go oh yeah. So again, like that's sort of how I felt with like my old self, where I was like, well, you didn't know you were crazy, like you didn't know you
Yeah.
needed help, but now I'm like, you
Yeah.
needed help, babe, you're okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, good. Well, I again want to thank you for
Of
joining
course.
here, and I hope you have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.